friends, welcome to Prerna Ki Srot, a channel which is dedicated to highlight, showcase and present before you those extraordinary people who have lived their life with such standards that they've become a source of inspiration for all of us today. The guest gracing this episode is a magnanimous personality, and for me, this is a fangirl moment. Her journey has been phenomenal, from a small town in Tamil Nadu to becoming an IAS officer in 1979 with Bihar Cadre. She continued to carry all the values that she has learned in her early childhood stage, and all the work that she's done then and now that she's doing in her trust is all value driven. She studied literature and then studied rural development. She did her M.Phil in women's studies and her MBA in disaster management, a spectrum that you would not find very easily. During her 3-decade-long career in the administrative and civil services, she worked on various prestigious projects, assignments, and positions, from judiciary to managing women and child development ministries, and several more such are the feathers in her hat. During the 3 decades of her working with the civil services and administration, she worked very closely with NGOs and civil societies to partner with them and work on issues related to women and human rights, child trafficking. And her work has recently been awarded, acknowledged by the US, where she is given the Lifetime Achievement Award for contribution to combat human trafficking in India. And this has been acknowledged by the US Consul General in Kolkata. Her work, thoughts, and expressions are getting published in various articles with reputed magazines and journals these days. And today she's here with us, gracing this platform of Prerna Ki Srot. So presenting you, Srimati Bhamathi Balasubramaniam. Welcome to Prerna Ki Srot, ma'am. Before we start the discussion today and this interaction with ma'am, I've already given a brief about what magnanimous personality she is. And today from her, I would like to understand that how was this making of becoming Bhamathi that you are today? So take us through your childhood memories and tell us more about yourself.
Thank you, Shivali, for bringing me on this show. Is to be with such a beautiful, soulful, and graceful person. I'm so happy. And we have talked so much, so I know what you are. I'm so happy that you have called me on this show. Yes, my childhood is all in Chennai, started from Chennai, a middle-class family with 9 children at home. We were 2 cousins and 7 of us brought up by my parents. And, it was mostly my mother, because my father was living outside of Chennai. He was working from outside, and my mother used to take care of all of us. So a universal carer that we had in her. I would ascribe the growth from childhood to the fact that I came from a very rich spiritual heritage that I had. Swami Shivananda was a close relative of ours. We were born in that family, belonged to that village where he lived. And he moved on to Rishikesh. And before him, there were 2 other very prominent sages. Many of you may not know in the north, called Appaya Dikshidhar. They were Shiva devotees. They were Shaivites. One was Appaya Dikshidhar, another was Nilakanta Dikshidhar. There was about 6 to 7 generations between those 2, and another 6 generations between Nilakanta Dikshidhar and Swami Shivananda. So, and I vividly have very vivid memories of my parents taking us to Rishikesh when we were all small, in small batches, because 9 of us, so we could go only 4 at a time. So my mother used to take us there. And then we used to go and meet him and interact with him so freely. And, I have sat on his lap. And so, and all this did not mean anything at that time. And we used to get all those books from the Divine Life Society, and he used to send it to all his family members. So we used to get it. And I got exposure to all that even at that age. I must have about 5 years or 6 years. And from that age, all of us got exposure to the Divine Life Society, the thinking of Swami Shivananda. And the other was that the more immediate influence was the fact that my grandfather, that's my mother's father, was a great Sanskrit scholar. He was honored by Darbhanga University in the early 60s. He was called Shastra Ratnakara. That was a title given to him. He was a great grammarian. And he wrote only on Ka Dhatu, he wrote 22 cantos before he passed away. 22 cantos. And we have now donated all these books to the libraries here in. So we were all run more by our grandmother, a very domineering person. And my mother was like a, very soft spoken, very quiet. And so she relied heavily on my grandmother to bring us all up. So she made us lead a very regimented life. Says all of us have to sit before my grandfather and he will teach us all the shlokas, all those Narayan, Vishnu Sahasranamam, all those things. And this had to happen every day. And I was the one who used to bunk those classes, and I got punished also for that, because I jumped over the wall and went to my friend's house who lived in the backside of our house. And when I came back, she said, "How did you not come for the class? So you do Buskies." So she made me do 108 Buskies, and my thighs and knees, everything got blown up.
Busky is like some sort of a punishment exercise, sit-ups. Right,
sit-ups.
Right. That gave you a good build, I think, because the early
one-off event. So the next day she got so scared because I was so sick, and my grandfather was scolding me, "Why are you making these? Why are you doing this to these children? What will you? How will you answer her father and all that?" So after that, she gave me ice cream and she patched up all that. So, but what the meaning out of it that I can derive is the fact that we got tremendous exposure to good values in life. And that is the abiding influence that still stays with me and takes me forward and has sustained me in this entire life. And I always feel like, I've been carried in a Pushpa Vimanam, that kind of feeling I get is because we have been exposed to. So that is basically childhood, and we had very good friends. They are my classmates, my benchmates are still my friends. We are in very close touch with each other, and it's really feels very nice about it because we share a lot. People who have come on the way are now off the way, but those who came in first have remained till the last. So that's a very great thing. So I think those things helped us to go along in life.
So you told us about the childhood, the value systems, the discipline, and how liberal the family environment was. But as a kid, did you always want to become an IAS officer, or you had some other imaginations and you found yourself in this doing this role one day?
I was always hardworking in what I did, but I never thought about the future in the IAS, never. And mind you, I think I was 25 or 26 when I took my first attempt, 26, yeah, probably 26, no, 1970, till 1974. I'm quite clear that I had no such idea of coming into the service. The only issue was that my elder sister, they will all used to tell me that even as a child, that I used to be a big chatterbox and I used to back answer elders, all those things were there. She thinks she's a collector. So at that, and and the way you used to say one leg over another, see, she sits like a collector. All those things used to be told about me, but I never personally felt that I was going in that direction. So, but my sister attempted and she didn't get through, but she did very well in her life. Otherwise also, she's now no more. But my father and my sister, because she had prepared all those notes, although my subject was not hers, I did English literature and she was a fine arts student. So, and a cousin of mine, a cousin of mine was so good was so up to date in all that he used to read, voracious read. All three of them put this idea into me that, no, why don't you try? So I completed my MA and I got a job immediately in the same college. I was teaching MA students, BA and pre-university students. And that meant, and I took English literature as one of the optionals, which meant what I was doing for the students was also preparation for the class, for the exams, civil services. So that was one area where I had a distinct advantage. And the first time I made it to the IPS, which I didn't, and then I didn't want, and then I appeared IAS, and then I got this. So there was no such thought, but my father always used to tell me no, you must come into the service. With all these labeling that I got, that, she behaves like a collector and all that, something was building up, I suppose. I personally was so playful. I was never at home. And mother used to tell me, why are you always sitting in that person? So I used to go see all the films in the city, all the films and all entertainments. Nothing was. Every day, nicely dress up, go for these films. It was just after 75 or so that this whole thing started, where without looking at it as a career, I just started working, and I was very, very focused. That was the thing, that's something that pulled me through in all this, that I got onto it, but I stuck to it. And I did not think of other options at all. But I was already having a job. So I knew that if I didn't get this, I would be continuing in the professor's job.
Wow. Wow, wonderful. So you had a beautiful over 3 decades journey as a bureaucrat. And then afterwards, you picked up another assignment. And then afterward, you picked another assignment. Usually, when somebody retires from a long, stressful job, we all know bureaucracy isn't very, easy. It's very demanding. So one would definitely want to sit back, relax, and just chill out. Now everything is sorted. But it didn't happen with you. So tell us about that post-retirement, and then what all you did afterwards.
Actually, 2013, I retired from government as the secretary, the rank of secretary to government. And then it was August I retired. And by September, I had an offer to be part of the judiciary. I was in the Central Administrative Tribunal. And that's as a judge in the rank of a high court. And all my profile was perfectly fitting for that job also, because I'd done this Panchayati and a lot of human rights issues, and I did quasi-judicial administration, sort of those sort of things. So I was picked up in 2000, within 2 months. By October, I had joined. September, I had the offer. October, I had joined. So I hardly had any time to kind of sit back and relax. And I was posted in Allahabad, then I moved to Bombay, and then I moved to Chennai, where I completed those 4 years and 10 months of in the judiciary. So then what happened, 2018, I retired. And I was very happy to have retired, because I had a lot of plans to start looking at doing public service, and in my own capacity. I didn't want to be linked with anybody. And I was holding it back all these years because I didn't want any conflict of interest, whatever I was doing. Since I'd done a lot of work on human trafficking, and I was already helping a lot of people, those sort of issues were there. But I wanted to give a name to whatever I'm doing, do it as my own organization. So 2018, it took me some time. I relaxed. I traveled a lot. I went to Antarctica. I did a lot. I went to Colombo, Sri Lanka. I went to Bhutan. I went to all those places. A lot of places I visited. I'm really very fond of traveling. So 2019, I started working on it. And I then set up the trust. It took me a year almost to get it going. So 2020 January was the day when I registered the trust. My name is Annapurni. My alias name is Annapurni. And that's what was given. Annapurni is, Varanasi. Kashi, Vishwanath. So I called it Annapurneshwari Social Service Educational Trust. And I got the acronym. I put an acronym called ASSET, ASSET. So little realizing that COVID was coming. I had no idea whatsoever. So when COVID, by that time, there are certain things that I had done very interesting, and I pulled myself into it voluntarily. I was wanting to work in the schools, building these values and giving children the exposure to things like out of class, extracurricular activities. My focus was to move from extracurricular to curricular activity. So I put a set of teachers who would work in the school with the children. They were all high schools and also primary schools. And they're all only government. I never went to private schools ever. I don't go touch the rich. I want to touch only the poorer people and those who need this kind of help and are in trouble. So there I started with these 3 schools where I had a music, dance, teacher, a yoga teacher, arts, painting, all those, waste management, karate, chess, English speaking, computers. No cost, all were volunteers. Now, with some high schools, we found there was a lot of problem of drug abuse. We went with this intention, but we were brought to bring our attention to the fact that there was too much drug abuse in the schools. These are, government schools, but, the mafia is so strong, they're powerful. So I put a team together, and this is all done in coordination with the state government, nothing of my own. I was only a facilitator for this whole process. So then I had a very good NGO with whom I had worked when I was in Government of India. She's a Padma Shri, I think, and she has left, and she had a drug de-addiction organization. So I pulled those people in, and for 7 weeks we gave classes to all these children in these schools, class by class, and it's a huge population, 500, 600, some 10 sections and all that. But the children started responding so well that they came and they started confiding in the teachers that they are facing this problem of drug, and they're pointing out which students are doing this. All this information came. So I put 2 counselors in the school to capture all those, because the teachers were saying that we are not able to address it. So 2 counselors came to work in the school, and in that process, we had a case of child sexual abuse. The girl was abused by her own father, and the father and mother were both in the jail at the time when all this, subsequently they went to jail, and we took great care of this girl to see that she comes and takes her exams, because she has been repeatedly abused for any number of years. And she was such a bright student, their teachers couldn't believe, but they thought this is a stigma on us, that nobody will come to this school again. So we played a very quiet, and confidential, keeping the thing very confidential. And I talked to the police, I talked to the JJ, the juvenile justice homes, and also all these. And then she was able to, every day we escorted her to take the exam, and we dropped her back in the home with proper escort. And we finally, that was I think sometime in March. And in March, the COVID was just starting. So all the actions that we had taken were actually getting disrupted because of COVID. Because only virtual schools, and they all got into preparing online syllabus. So I couldn't command their time. They could not provide the time either. So, but we ensured that she got a hostel somewhere where without her parents. So she became a foster child, and she was in a hostel and all that. So this was something that went on until COVID came and disrupted the whole thing. And then I started doing whatever sexual abuse work that we did, I converted into an online action research, which meant that I had taken a cyber expert and a child sexual abuse expert, who were also some of my teachers in the extracurricular activities. So I drew myself into it, and the principal and the teachers of class 9 and class 10. So they were sending on the WhatsApp all the important resources to teach children, because we heard that there were a lot of sexual abuse going on, and no support was available for them, because these people, nobody could come out. So all lockdown had started by then. And therefore, there was the lock-in effect of lockdown was, very clearly, it affected the children, particularly girls, and also a lot of domestic violence and all that. So what we did was that we were sharing these resources with the principal and the teachers, and if they okayed it, it was sent on a WhatsApp group that the teacher had with the children after taking the consent of parents, and they were sharing these resources so that they could share the problems in case somebody was abusing them, or so that kind of awareness online was happening till the time that they had to go away on leave and all that. So that we had to kind of stop it halfway through. I have not been able to resume it because lockdown exists even now today in Chennai. So this is one thing that we started. And then, of course, by the time my trust, I was getting all the income tax issues, the ATG and all that was being done. So from my own resources, I was supporting the laborers from Orissa, Bihar, Manipur, Northeast, We gave them
There was a
food.
picture shown in a clipping wherein it was mentioned an IAS officer making a char for the migrants. What was that?
That, we had a carpenter from Samastipur. He was the lead of about 100, and he was leading about 150 people in that area. And then when he came to, we found out that he was not getting food. So I arranged for their food. Corporation came and promptly delivered their food. Then I asked them, "Sab theek taak hai?" अच्छा है मैडम साहब, मिल रहा है हम लोग को, कोई अचार नहीं है, अचार कहाँ मिलेगा, अचार खरीदना है। तो अच्छा है, अचार का क्या प्रॉब्लम है, तो मैं बेच दूंगी अचार, अब देख लीजिए। So I sat and made nimbu achar for them and 2 barrels of those, and then we went and distributed. So they were all very happy to eat their dal chawal aloo with achar. So they were very happy. So that was, somebody came to know about it. And then they called me and said, "I believe you have distributed achar." And I said, "Yes, but why do you want to, this is such a small incident, why do you want to highlight this?" He says, "No, madam, this is what is it called, a human element. The journalists look for human element." So they said, from human element point of view, this is a very good story. We want to publish it. So this is how I try to spend my time.
Wonderful. So you take a lot of workshops for the young aspirants for IAS and women and generally also. Yes. So just to know from you that usually bureaucracy is considered to be something which is very difficult to get the work done with from, but you have handled such beautiful projects even when you were in the system, and now that you're supporting the system and this community from outside. So what is your success mantra? What worked for you?
See, I was not always, we're not insulated in life, right? Always one was looking inward for a certain purpose, but outward for another purpose. Outward means trying to reach out to people who are in trouble. I think I get moved very fast. If somebody is suffering, then, I can't take it. I can't take it. So the question immediately, what can I do? What can I do? So if with that attitude, if you go, then retirement makes no sense. Retirement is just one of those things in life. Okay, right? You have to die. So like that, you have to retire also sometime. That is a kind of thing. So it never ever mattered to me. One concrete case I wanted to tell you was, we had a maid in the area, not for my house, but she told me she locks the house up and her daughter lives inside. She's completely quadriplegic, neck downward, nothing works. And she's about 18 years of old, and she's not getting that assistance the disabled persons get. She's not been getting. She was getting in the village, and later they said she doesn't have palms, the rays in the palm, and therefore she cannot get Aadhaar card, and therefore we cannot give her. I caught on to this. I said, no, how can it happen? I took it I battled it out for 1 year, from last July of 20 and May of this year, finally got it for her. Now she's getting her money on ECS online. And then, I realized the irony of it, because we are all engaged to do our work, but we are having to follow up somebody to do that work. We are not here to ensure that somebody does their work. Everybody does their work. So, but that lateral assistance that was being extended to know a friend. Okay, if you know a friend, see, help this person. He's very poor. And then, things used to get done. But this is not our job. Everybody should be doing their job to the best of their ability. And we are all not here to do pyramid and get things done for others. It's not the work. But we are in a situation where if we didn't do, the fellow will be still in the dark. They will be suffering. So if you want to mitigate that, this is a role that you have to add on to your existing basic fundamental primary duty of doing public service.
So I'll ask if the young aspiring IAS officials or the candidates, if they're watching this video from you, what message would you like to give to them? What should be their value system?
I've been doing this, and I'm very blunt with all of them. I says, you may be anybody in life. You may be a great professional. You may be IIT. You may be doctor and all that. And if you are here with the intent of doing service, public servant doing public service. If you're not come with this, if you come with any other intention, just don't go on with this job. Don't apply for IAS. Go anywhere else you want. Don't stay here. Just move out. We do not want just professionals in service. We want people with empathy, people who are ready to reach out anytime and are able to put themselves in the shoes of those who suffer. So this is what I always tell them. Otherwise I said, you have to grow from a what do you call that, bonsai to a banyan, then this is what takes you along. You can't be a great professional and think that you are a banyan. No, you will still be a bonsai for the world. To yourself, you can have any amount of self-gratification saying that I'm a big man in this world. No.
What a beautiful metaphor, from bonsai to banyan tree. It's a beautiful way to describe the growth of a professional. So, ma'am, your work on child human trafficking has been acknowledged by the UN and the UN Council General of Kolkata. So, would you like to tell more about it? That what did you do, and what was the detail about this project?
See, somewhere around 1990, when I joined as executive director of the Central Social Welfare Board, there was a project which was running in Delhi for women in prostitution. And we were running the project. I took over the project. We were running it. And when I started looking at this issue very closely. Now, one of the brothels, I went there. I visited the brothel. And I found, I was talking to all of them. And I found that, irrespective of class, level of education, caste, all kinds of girls were holed up in those places. And after seeing, they are entertaining men, and the children are all living just under the bed and over the bed, something else happening. It just shook me. It was a baptism by fire. I have not done sociology. I have not done any research. It's just that that fire opened up in me, and there's no looking back after that. So I gave my all for this work. Now, any job I was doing, I was working on this human trafficking also. So, so much so that from between, say, before 90 also, we were doing in the districts, but 90 was a specific charge I had on this work. So I brought out the first country report on children in prostitution. First country report for the whole country. What is the status, what is happening, magnitude, dimensions, how it is happening, modus operandi, all this was there. So therefore, whichever job I did, I made this a subject matter. Even if it was a medical education, I was Secretary Medical Education Bihar. I brought in human trafficking into that also. And work in the UN 5 years gave me great opportunity to really work across all issues, gender issues, not just trafficking, but violence against women, reproductive rights, political rights, reservations for women, all those issues, panchayat level.
So this is phenomenal, your journey, that I have been very fortunate. And for this, I'd like to thank Cecilia ma'am, Sundaram sir, and JVR sir, so that they introduced you to this platform, Prerna Ki Srot. And your journey has been so phenomenal. I've followed you all these days that I've been interacting with you for months now, and just wanted to understand what would be that one message that you'd like to give to people out there, whether it could be for the youngsters, for women, for people who've taken retirement from their jobs, but what is that message that you'd like to give to the community?
See, we all have problems. Everybody has problems in their life, some big, some bigger magnitude, some small. But when the moment you begin to see somebody having more problems than you and still surviving, that's the time you should say, neighborize your own problems. That it is not, this problem is something too small compared to what others are facing, or this problem is a part of this life that you are destined to face. And it is only body, mind, sensory organs which are affected, but not your Atma. Atma is not affected by anything. So you become distant with your problems. That's why we call it neighborize your problems. But divinize your actions, thoughts. and deeds. Neighborize your problems, divinize your thoughts. I think your life will be Anandamaya Kosh. That ultimate bliss is not what we will get, but you will live in a state of peace. It will bring you more peace. Peace begets peace. Enmity begets enmity. Negativity begets negativity. But if you go with this thing that, okay, my problem is nothing. I'm grateful for whatever I have. I just break down before the divine to say, what is it that I've done to get this life? So this is the most important, to divinize your thoughts, neighborize your problems. Everything will be fine.
That's such a powerful message to give. And once again, I would like to thank you for coming to this platform and gracing us with your knowledge, wisdom, and beautiful insights that you shared with us. And from Prerna ke Srot, I wish you a lot of luck and success and a great health and happiness for your projects, for your life coming ahead. And thank you so much once again for joining us.
It's one life, but no life after this. This is one life, but want no life after this. If you go with that objective, then you finish off everything here, then everything is fine. So thank you so much for a very nice show, shared this evening with you. Very precious evening, memorable evening. Thank you.
Same here, ma'am. Thank you so much.